Hello and welcome to the SMI community meeting. It is June 23rd, 2021, and we have a packed agenda today, so let's get into it. The first item on the agenda is actually from me, and it's, hey, a bunch of people are out for the summer or for part of the summer, and it looks like it might make sense to have the multi-cluster every other week call go to summer hiatus and then come back triumphantly in September, or maybe mid-August rather. But I know Michelle is going to be out for about a month. I know Michael is on another project at the moment. Any objections? If you object, you have to run the multi-cluster call.
I think that makes sense. Bridget, back to, we can always discuss any
Absolutely.
items of the general fortnightly.
I love it. Fortnightly it is. I will make the appropriate updates. I think Lee is a little delayed, so we will jump to Phil's topic. Phil, you have the floor.
All right, thanks, Bridget. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I skipped Keith.
oh.
I had the window over the other
Oh, my
window,
bad.
and then I clicked
Go
back
for it.
over to it and said, oh no, Keith, you have the
Sorry about
floor.
Yeah, so following up from the June 9th call and the discussion over the future of the SMSU adapter, last week, Nick, Jackson, Marlo, myself, Lee, and others were hopped on a call, and Nick went through kind of he and Michelle's vision for the, I guess, next generation of the STU adapter. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but you said you had something you wanted to discuss your progress on the STU adapter or demo, something. I recall, that's what I remember. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. So I've been working on that since we last chatted. I was hoping to have things buttoned up, but I'll give you a status of where I'm at. So where I'm at now is I've got, I finished all of the conversion code to be able to do conversion for the current objects between the different versions. So we can now have conversion webhooks. That's all completed. I've got all of the kind of the kube builder code generation stuff working again. So that's all set up. All of the code has been ported. So what's left to do, the bit that I'm currently banging my head against the wall at, is trying to generate Helm template code from kube builder code. It is as horrific as it sounds, believe me. So, so I'm trying to get that sorted, and hopefully that'll only take another couple of days. The Helm template's used by for obviously all the installation and stuff like that. So it's pretty essential. The nice thing about Kube Builder is Kube Builder will generate you CRDs, but it doesn't generate you full CRDs. It basically generates you partials. So then they use customize to be able to turn the partials into sort of actual things. And I'm just trying to work out whether I can use that customize to generate the templates that we use in the Helm chart, which seems to be a yes, but there's a couple of little gotchas, such as any elements of the Helm template which are not proper YAML. They've basically got Go template in. Customize is just like hard and opening on that. So I need a couple more days to get that working. But once that's done, what it'll mean is that we can then plug that into the Istio adapter. And my aim was to get just one simple resource working on the Istio adapter with all of the full CI, CD, and tests and things like that. So then I can show you what I've done, Keith, and then you can kind of help plugging into some stuff onto that, and I'll continue digging into the SDK.
So Nick, is the SMI controller SDK repo the place where people would jump in if they want to participate in everything you just talked about?
It is, yes. I haven't pushed my latest code because it doesn't actually build, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I will push that to a branch from my local branch just for a kind of an FYI so people can kind of see what's going on in there. And I'll do that later on tonight after dinner. But yeah, it'll be in the, I think it's in a branch called Refactor.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Nick. And Keith, is there more on that topic that you have questions about, want to discuss, next steps? Any more thoughts since this is your topic?
Yeah, nothing much more from me. I will just be watching that repo and hopping in when Nick deems it ready for external contribution.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's just another couple of days to kind of, I just want to get things like the tests and stuff like that working. I had some conversations with, oh, that's another thing I did. So I had another couple of conversations with Michelle, and we agreed that Cube Builder basically says to use the Ginkgo tests. Michelle and I are not pro Ginkgo tests and would much prefer to use standard Go tests. So I've got that stuff converted as well. So using env tests and stuff. So the nice thing about the SDK is there'll be a full suite of tests. There will be unit tests for the controllers, conversion logic. There will be functional tests, which uses env test for the actual controller logic, and there will be full end-to-end tests using Cucumber, which will actually run a mock implementation of the controller. So like the quality on it should be totally solid once I get everything up and running and passing again.
All right, that is great. Keith, do you have anything else on this, or can we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, we can move on. That's everything. Thanks. Thanks all.
All right, fantastic. Lee, you are up next, and you are going to talk about SMP and Meshery and your exciting update.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. So those two projects we've been discussing, well, for over the last number of weeks. And we've been discussing about their alignment, their underlap, their overlap, how they're collectively reinforcing one another. And yesterday was a point of reflection for the CNCF, the TOC members as they consider sandbox projects. And so collectively, the maintainers between Service Mesh Performance, SMI, and Meshery were in a hurry to, well, try to characterize in visual terms or written word, like how they align and reinforce one another, and what we'd all collectively like to do about that. And I think that the majority of the maintainers said we'd like to do more of the same, or like, because part of the question was, should the projects, it was clarification on how they align, and then a question of whether or not one or all of them should merge. And so by majority vote between all the maintainers, it was keep each of the projects individually on their individual tracks for now, with SMI and SMP having sort of the open condition or note on them that as they advance over time, and should they, essentially, should they go for incubation, that same question would need to be answered again. Maybe it would be the same answer, or maybe it would be something different. But and so as of yesterday, the two projects, Meshery and SMP, were both accepted into the sandbox. So nice. So a lot of happy contributors, a lot of happy maintainers. Yeah.
That's excellent, Lee. Congratulations, buddy.
No, yeah. No, well, it's...
That's awesome.
I'm looking at a maintainer right here, or a couple of maintainers right here too. So you can, yeah.
Oh, very exciting. All right, that's good progress. Do we have anything else that Lee or others want to discuss on that topic before we start talking about the next topic?
I'll say this, that if you didn't see, there's a link to a slide that has a visual, a really ugly on purpose, like a visual diagram of how the projects complement if you haven't seen, I suggest you take a look at, because it might help in terms of actively helping them reinforce one another. So.
Okay, and I think that's the deck you presented recently, so I'll drop a link to that.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we're just going to get through all our topics today. That's fantastic. Next up, Phil, if you want to take the helm and tell us what you want to talk about.
Yeah. So I think I want to kind of revisit the discussion around circuit breaking, rate limiting, and retries. I think when I went through the notes document here, there's been several meetings where these topics have been brought up and or discussed. And I know on the meeting that happened February 19th, 2020, just looking at the notes, and Michelle had mentioned that this functionality was kind of Q2 priority. And so I guess what I want to understand is where is SMI in relationship to actually adopting this functionality into the spec, and just try to gauge on that, and just for transparency, because in the OSM project, these are common features functionality that we continue to get asked, and just want to kind of understand time frame, kind of where things are lining up. Is this something that is on track and we have a date possibly to where OSM can consume this, or should we from the OSM project look to build this into our project and then kind of report back to SMI
Hey, Phil.
on that feature set? Yeah.
So from my perspective, retry, circuit breaking, all of those configurable elements are absolutely essential service mesh functionality.
Yep.
When this has been discussed in the past, and I actually originally brought up a lot of this sort of stuff a good couple of years back, things were knocked back around a perspective of, it wasn't a perspective, it was a discussion that was never resolved on whether the SMI should be lowest common denominator, so in that we should only support the functionality that every service mesh can provide, or whether it has features which are maybe only common to few. My opinion on this has always been that lowest common denominator is not necessarily useful for the end user, and doesn't necessarily help the spec grow. I think Kubernetes have taken a similar stance with the differentiation between sort of ingress v1, which is lowest common denominator, and we all saw kind of what happened with Nginx, is that they ended up dumping everything into sort of metadata and annotations, and ingress v2, which is basically highest common denominator, which accounts for features which maybe certain ingresses don't have. So my opinion is that that SMI shouldn't be lowest common denominator, and therefore we should support retries, circuit breaking, timeouts, load balancing algorithms, et cetera. Now, I think the thing that we do have to do is we have to be we have to acknowledge that we need to be able to present the ability to configure each of those features in a way that can be usable from different service meshes. So for example, Envoy has got a very, very, very sort of brutal case around retries, which is kind of number of retries, delay between retry. Whereas Linkerd has a very different approach. Linkerd says retry budget. So a percentage of requests which are failed is allowable as retriable. So I think when we design the specification, we have to accommodate both of those different implementation patterns. And maybe that is, one is a retry and one is a retry budget. And there are two different things. I don't have an opinion on that at the moment. But I think as long as we do that, then they absolutely should be part of the spec. And if you would like to raise a proposal on what you think those things should look like, I'd love to see that. I mean, it has been talked about in the past. I don't know if Thomas is on the call, but we have talked about things like being able to put those onto like HTTP root groups and things like that. And that might be a good place to put them. I don't know. As I say, I don't necessarily have an opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, Delia, I see you on the call. I don't know if you want to chime in. Yeah, we can definitely work on like an RFC. It would be, I mean, that's the path we were going down with OSM anyway. So I think we can possibly consolidate those efforts here. You know, again, it's a timing thing from us. You know, I think if we can consolidate that, get that out pretty quick, get it working, functional, like some MVP here soon. That might suffice. Deli, I know you may have opinion if you want to chime in on your thoughts.
Not much of an opinion. I just share the need that Phil expresses as well, and I'm super happy to hear that. I knew that Nick has worked on this. We see the PRs, and I'm so glad that Nick, and I'm assuming many others here, have this experience, and we have the context on how we need to do this to accommodate for the various proxies and the complexities with that. So I think we need to leverage the folks here and their knowledge and push through on those, Phil. We need to, and I'm happy to help with that. I'm a bit overloaded already with the multi-cluster. Appreciate the hiatus. We need to also drive those features, retry, circuit breaking, rate limiting. It's a must.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd be happy to chime in with some opinions and some help if there was like a draft issue or maybe a draft PR is just the best way to go. I'm kind of busy with the controller SDK, so I'll be 100% open and say I'll struggle to do anything. I've got every confidence that whatever the specification is, it's going to be pretty sane, and it's literally just going to be a case of dotting I's, crossing T's, and getting approval to have a merger of those features. But like Dillian or Phil, if you could take the lead on that, or like basically, I mean, whoever's going to be working on that as part of OSM, if they literally, rather than writing the internal RFC, wanted to write that RFC as a PR for the specification, I'd fully support that and help to get that merged in so that you could have that as a first-class citizen rather as a superset.
Yeah, I second that. I mean that both. I mean the whole the whole thing that SMI. Well, I'll say it like that. Like should expand in scope, and there's nothing holding us back now other than time. And so to Nick's point, like two birds, one stone is sort of a way of characterizing what he just said.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind taking point on that. I mean, obviously, this is something we need. So yeah, I'll work with team. We'll get RFC out there, or look. I don't know if there was an existing issue. I didn't go through the issues, but yeah, we'll start appending to whatever's out there, or I'll create something and we'll start tracking this. Cool. That's all I have, Bridget. Unless anyone else has anything they want to discuss about.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, we heard from Nick, we heard from Lee and Phil and Del. If Mike, I saw a reaction thumbs up from you. Do you have anything you want to add to this topic wise?
No, nothing to add. Just sounds good. I like the idea of trying to do it to the SMI spec rather than just like internal RFC. Makes sense to me. Sounds good. Get early behind there.
All right.
Awesome. I think we have hit on all of our topics. So I'll remind everyone that we will not have a multi-cluster meeting next week, and we will see you back here in 2 weeks, and I will make the calendar adjustments accordingly. Anyone have anything else?
I've got one other item, and that is Well, it might be, it's for everyone, I guess, but but the OSM folks might be the willing guinea pigs, maybe is the way of saying it, which is that it concerns me that the conformance tests for the majority of the participating service meshes has, like, the dashboard there has a lot of red on it. And that's explainable, but but it doesn't look good. The perception is not great. And I think that so for context, like if you visit meshery.io/SMI, the current state of conformance tests are published there. There's a couple of, it's explainable. There's a couple of reasons why. One is because that's the latest spec. And so, hey, not all implementations have caught up with the latest spec. Great. Also, there's a set of tests that are a good first version, or version and a half of what the conformance test should be, but they need opinion expressed over them and to be changed. And so the thing I'm calling to action or asking for or suggesting that people try out is to go try to run the conformance tests for your service mesh, and then say how horrible the tests are and how you want them all changed. Or
Okay, and is there a link on the page that people click on, or do they report issues in a GitHub repo? Can you give us where they put the info once they have opinions?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, there's some of this is in flight as the repos potentially move around, but there's the tests themselves. Here's a link. I should have put it in. I'll put that into the meeting minutes, I guess. But there's a the tests are, there's a suite of tests. You don't have to, if you open an issue on this repo, that's probably the most appropriate thing. The repo is a split personality repository. So it has a sample app that's used in context of SMI's, of the conformance tests. And it is also, it has the test cases themselves as well. It has the assertions. If reading through that YAML and is confusing at all or not ideal, the Google Doc has the same list of tests that people can look over and see how they're categorized.
Okay, as long as you move those, if you do move any repos into other organizations with the CNCF donation process, as long as you use GitHub's tool for moving them, everything will forward. So you won't have to worry about broken links. So. All right.
Lee, thanks for the
We've noted
reminder.
that.
This is good stuff. I'm gonna dig into that. Nice, beautiful.
Wonderful. Okay, anything more we need to discuss before we say, let's dig into these topics for 2 weeks and then come back and say what we've come up with. All right, thank you all for your time today, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye, friends.
See you later.
Bye.